Members, without objection, we will go to order of business number 11, special orders of the day, for the purpose of receiving the address of the United States Senator John Tester. Majority Leader Eli.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the Speaker appoint a committee of 2 members to escort the United States Senator into the House chamber.
You've heard the motion of Majority Leader Eli. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, so ordered. I appoint the following members to escort Senator John Tester into the chamber. Representative Custer, Representative Swanson. Sergeant-at-Arms Murfitt.
Mr. Speaker, the United States Senator John Tester awaits entry into the House chamber.
Sergeant-at-Arms will please admit Senator John Tester into the House chamber.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks,
Members, it's with great pleasure that I present the Honorable Senator John Tester.
Thank you. Thank you very, very much. It is indeed a pleasure to be here in the People's House. Speaker Knudsen, Majority Leader Eli, Minority Leader Eck, members of the House, honored guests, it is such a pleasure to be here. I would be remiss if we didn't acknowledge that today is Martin Luther King Day, a day that celebrates a man who saw injustice in this country and worked to change it. It is a great reminder of the impact a citizen can have on our government if we work together. This tradition of inviting members of our congressional delegation to address this body reminds us that we are Montanans first. 12 years ago, when I was Senate President, we made time for these kind of addresses because it was a way to align Montana's priorities at the state and federal level. Montanans look to our elected officials for leadership, and they look for a spirit of cooperation. So I will say this. It is disappointing that the current Senate leadership chose to abandon this smart tradition of joint addresses to the legislature, especially so early in the session when there is little on the agenda. So, Speaker Knudsen, thank you for your part for honoring this tradition. But first, I want to take a moment to thank the men and women who have made our country the leader of the free world for so many generations. Our veterans, would the fine folks who served this country in the military please stand, be recognized? Thank you. Thank you for your service to our country. As incoming ranking member of the Senate Veteran Affairs Committee, I promise that we will not take our responsibility lightly for your service. In that regard, Kathy Berger, who is the new director of VA Montana, is here. Kathy, would you please stand so we can thank you for your service? Thank you, Kathy. So whether it's getting the Southwest Vets Home in Butte built or holding the VA accountable for long wait times, we need to work together, and we will work together to do right by our veterans. As a citizen legislature, we have veterans, and we've got farmers, we've got teachers, we've got small businessmen and women. And for 90 days, you guys come to Helena to represent your district, to vote your conscience, and to make Montana proud. Our state founders knew that whether you're a rancher from Bloomfield or a teacher from Helena, for these 90 days, your priority would be to your constituents and to our great state. Despite our differences, we have a common goal: to ensure that Montana continues to be the last best place for generations to come. We know Montana is already a great place, with Glacier and Yellowstone parks, world-class hunting and fishing, and the best agricultural products in the world. Folks from all over come to our state to experience a little slice of paradise that we get to call home. From Sydney to St. Regis and everywhere in between, Montana is full of the hardest working people in the nation. I hope to work with you to create good-paying jobs across Montana, and today I'm going to present a thoughtful, common-sense, Montana-focused plan to strengthen our economy and create high-paying jobs. I'm going to call it Employ Montana. Employ Montana will rebuild our infrastructure. It will create a marketplace for our products. It will pave the way for innovation. It will invest in our workforce, and it will responsibly develop our resources. This will let folks know that Montana is open for business. But in order to compete in a global marketplace, Montana needs more than scenery and a dedicated workforce. So my first objective as part of Employ Montana is to invest in infrastructure. Together, we can ensure that folks have an infrastructure that allows them to get to work during the week, play on the weekends, and that businesses big and small can get their products to market. That's why I worked hard to pass a long-term highway bill that ensures Montanans get more bang for their buck. Thanks to that highway bill, for every dollar that hardworking Montanans contribute to the Federal Highway Trust Fund, our state gets about $2.50 back. This year, that's about $424 million for roads and bridges and highways. But we only get that funding if the state agrees to put up a certain amount as well. The governor provided a temporary fix that ensures we get the funding for this year. But this is a systemic issue that we must address for the future. Montanans need to ensure that tens of millions of dollars that Montana families depend upon and pay into the Highway Trust Fund don't get sent to states like New York or California or Alabama instead. Our construction workers, our contractors, our middle-class families cannot afford to see money left on the table because the politicians cannot agree. I've seen this body rise to the challenge before, and I know you will not disappoint. Montana's infrastructure needs goes beyond roads and bridges, though, and beyond clean water and sewer systems. And that's why Employ Montana will also prepare our state for a 21st century economy by ensuring responsible investments in rural broadband. 2015, the second phase of the Connect America Fund delivered about $100 million to 2 broadband companies that serve Montana. I want to see that money is resulting in fiber being laid down across this state sooner rather than later, and that's why I plan to hold and have been holding CenturyLink, and as Mike Cuff knows, Frontiers, feet to the fire, and find out what progress they're making. We've invested in them, and it's time to find out what kind of return on that investment we're receiving. Strong connectivity across Montana will attract businesses to our state and allow for Montana-made companies to market their products worldwide. Companies like Cracklin Kamut, a healthy wheat-based snack food, and I'm pleased to have Thomas and his wife Heather and his daughter Grace, who just moved to Big Sandy, Montana, to work for Cracklin Kamut. Thomas, would you please stand? This innovative startup, Cracklin Kamut, brought Thomas and his family to Montana, more specifically to Big Sandy, to work. And with stronger broadband, Cracklin Kamut can be sold to even the biggest markets, which could bring in more jobs and more families to rural communities around this state. In Montana, we know whether it's snack food or textiles, we make a superior product, and we're proud to see Made in America slapped on that label. And it is time that we make sure that our taxpayer dollars are being used to support American workers, not lining the pockets of foreign corporations. Through my Employ Montana plan, I will introduce the Berry Amendment Extension Act, which would require the Department of Homeland Security to purchase their supplies from American companies. I think of Bozeman's own Mystery Ranch, which could provide the folks on the border with their quality multi-purpose backpacks. This is a common-sense solution that will create jobs and keep our taxpayer dollars within our borders. Whether Montanans are producing backpacks, airline parts, beef, or grain, We are competing in a global environment. President-elect Trump and I agree we need to ensure that America has fair trade. And as part of my Employ Montana plan, I look forward to working with the President-elect to develop trade policies that ensure Montana producers get a fair shake while protecting American workers. My friends from the forested counties can agree it is time to negotiate a new softwood lumber agreement. I will work with the new administration to create fair, effective, sustainable softwood lumber agreement. This will help our timber industry with the certainty that they need, and it will help get our mills back to work. Our timber industry is not the only one suffering from unfair trade practices, though. Farmers across Montana continue to feel the consequence of unfair wheat grading by the Canadian government. There is many a company that gets stopped at the border because of this unfair trade practice. Montana farmers grow the best product. To see it immediately downgraded to feed grade at the border is totally unacceptable. I'll do my part, and I want the Trump administration to do their part to ensure that Montana farmers can be competitive in this global marketplace. This will create a strong market for Montana's farmers, putting more money in the hand of farmers, and guess what? They'll spend it, and that's a good thing for our economy. I believe the best way to create jobs by building an economy that empowers innovation and innovators. Oftentimes, creative Montanans lack the access to capital in order to start their business. A large part of the Employ Montana plan is dedicated to ensuring Montana innovators have access to capital and the means to develop private partnerships. Programs like the Small Business Innovation Research Program provides grant money to companies to help them get off the ground. I am pleased we have one of those innovators, Stan Abel of Site One Therapeutics, in the gallery today, joined by his wife, Stacy. Stan and Stacy, would you stand, please? Thank you for being here. Stan saw the opioid crisis that's ravaging our country and worked with the scientists to try to find a better, less addictive way to manage pain. With the help of SBIR grants, Stan was able to get his business started, went on to secure private investment from Montana's first successful venture capital firm, Next Frontier. Site One will continue to grow and employ more and more people in Montana because of Stan's ability to see a problem and think of an innovative solution to solve that problem. A Montana business supported by Montana Capital makes Site One a model for our state, and we need to look to spread that model across our state. With increased SBIR grants, we will have more innovators like Stan leading the way. Small business grants are only a piece of the puzzle, though. The next part of Employ Montana plan is to cut red tape and increase access to capital for community banks. I am pleased to have Bob Nystuen and his wife Kim in the gallery as well. Bob is the president of Glacier Bank in Kalispell. Bob and Kim, where are you? Thank you for being here. Bob is no stranger to the banking industry. He's worked for community banks from Miles City to Kalispell. He tells me that Montana is bursting with new ideas and is ripe for a growing business climate. But the fact is, our community banks are hampered by regulation that was meant to police the big boys, not the small credit unions, not the community banks that serve rural America and main streets in this state. And all you have to do is spend 5 minutes with Bob Nystuen, and you will know he is no Wall Street banker. As a member of the Banking Committee, I will work with Republicans, Democrats, anybody, to provide responsible reforms to Dodd-Frank to cut the red tape for community banks like Bob runs and other Montana banks that are the cornerstones of our rural communities. With regulatory relief, our businesses will have better access to capital and be better able to invest their products, hire more workers, and expand their markets. Now, lucky for our businesses, Montana workforce is second to none. My Employ Montana plan includes lean and mean investments in our workforce and investment that is designed to meet the needs of the community. In the gallery today, we have Mike Robbins, who is chairman of the board of Montana Precision Products. Mike, would you please stand? Good to have you here, Mike. Now, Montana Precision Products builds components for GE Aviation. This company needs welders, and in fact, Mike has said he plans to hire 80 to 100 new folks in the next 3 years. And that's why they've partnered with the Anaconda Job Corps to build a pipeline of skilled employees. Employ Montana plan proposes to boost our Job Corps programs in order to meet the needs of Montana businesses. So folks like Ray Ryan, who is the site manager for Anaconda Job Corps, can train up the next generation of skilled workers. And those workers are people like Megan Widmer and Katie Barker. These two young ladies are active in the Anaconda Job Corps, and they're here today with Ray. Ray, Megan, Katie, would you please stand? I want to thank them for their dedication to Montana. And with additional resources, we can ensure that Anaconda Job Corps and programs like it expand, create good-paying jobs, and meet the needs of local industry with well-trained local workers. But these kind of community partnerships should not just be limited to Job Corps. We need to look to our education system and ensure that it is creating a workforce that meets the needs of Montana's businesses. Our two-year colleges are the key. That is why a key component of Employ Montana is that we need to give our community colleges the resources that they need to develop talent that our employees are asking for. Because of our investment in education, a kid from Columbia Falls can go down the street to Flathead Community College, join his culinary program, hit another street, and start a restaurant in Whitefish. A young woman from Terry can travel to southwest Montana to Miles City Community College, enroll in its commercial driver's license course, and learn to drive an 18-wheeler across this state. We can work together to build on the successes of our community colleges and expand our job training programs so that the workforce is ready to answer the call. Investing in our education is an investment in Montana's future. Developing our human resources is critically important to a strong economy. But in Montana, we have an incredible supply of natural resources as well. Included in Employ Montana is a plan to responsibly develop an all-of-the-above energy strategy. I plan to introduce the Carbon Capture Utilization Storage Act. This bill will incentivize investment in the use of carbon capture technology. Legislation will provide tax credits to allow Montana's companies to burn coal cleaner and create good-paying jobs in the process. But we can't ignore the fact that our climate indeed is changing. I've seen changes on my farm every year. None of them are good. It isn't about hugging trees. It is about creating jobs, and it's about food security. Montana's #1 industry, agriculture, will lose more profits and be more dependent on government subsidies to pay the bills if we don't start taking proactive steps to protect our clean air and water. It is, after all, a Montana constitutional right. So I will hope you will join me in supporting Employ Montana. From stronger infrastructure to better broadband, increased startup grants to access to capital, from strengthening the workforce programs and tapping our energy economy, Employ Montana will create high-paying jobs and an economy that we're all proud of. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't take a few moments just to talk about health care. It is a pressing issue and one that Congress and potentially even the Montana legislature is going to have to grapple with. First of all, I want to thank you for your good work last session here in the Montana legislature as you expanded Medicaid to over 60,000 hardworking people. For the first time in these folks' lives, they were able to afford health care coverage, and you need to be commended for that. But if it's repeal, delay, replace, repeal and replace, repeal and delay, repeal and run, Obamacare, Trump care, here are the facts. The health and care industry accounts for over 52,000 jobs in Montana. Health care in Montana is a $4 billion a year industry. If Congress repeals the ACA, coverage would potentially be ripped away from 60,000 folks that you gave hope to just 2 years ago. Montana's economy could lose $3.1 billion, that's billion with a B, between 2019 and 2023 alone. The repeal would add $350 billion to the deficit. We would lose 8,200 jobs in 2019 alone, and rural areas would feel it the most. Hospitals in towns like Culbertson, Hamilton, even Big Sandy would potentially have to change their business model and potentially even close their doors. So working to fix the Affordable Care Act is good business. I've been around the state, the message is clear. People don't want Congress taking away their health care. Right now, we have an incredible opportunity to find a bipartisan solution that can make health care more affordable for middle-class families. But instead of having that conversation, Congress is on the cusp of repealing all of the progress that's being made. So I want to be clear. I know premiums are rising. We cannot settle for any situation where middle-class families cannot afford health insurance. I know that. But let's work together to keep accountability up and costs down. Repealing the ACA without a plan for what comes next is not going to lower costs. Our family health care is too important to throw it into chaos. We need to look before we leap. We cannot throw the baby out with the bathwater. We need to be working to provide affordability for families and certainty for rural communities that rely on these hospitals. I know we can find common ground to deliver that to Montana and the rest of the country. In Montana, there is far more that unites us than what divides us. We can all agree that Montana raises the best egg products in the world. We can agree that on a hot summer afternoon, we'd rather be on the river than cooped up in some office. We can all agree that Montana is the home of the hardest working men and women in the world. We owe it to these hard-working men and women to come together to build a stronger Montana. Together, we can build stronger roads and bridges. We can build a 21st century infrastructure. We can build the quality products to supply folks at home and abroad. We can build a business-friendly environment that encourages innovation and investment. We can build a more efficient workforce to meet the needs of our changing economy. We can build an energy sector that doesn't mortgage our future for today's profits. We can build a healthcare system that works for everyone, not just big insurance companies or drug companies. And we can build a stronger, better Montana for our next generation. I wish you all the best in the coming weeks. God bless you all, God bless Montana, and God bless America. Thank you very much. Thank you. Jim. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Senator Tester, for your remarks.